Hey there, this is Ona. Good morning or afternoon, whenever you happen to watch this. And thanks for watching. I am going to do a little bit of a reading here for this full moon in September. I'm going to talk a little bit about what's been coming through for me first. This is a Pisces full moon, and it's also the full moon that's closest to the fall equinox. And Pisces, I'm a Pisces sun, so I'm pretty familiar with Pisces. Pisces has a lot of, it's a mutable sign, and it's very changeable. And what's kind of coming forward for me a lot is change. And I know we've all had a lot of change lately, but it really does feel like this is a portal into just, it feels like the world is about to change in a way that it could feel positive, it could feel negative. I think ultimately it is all going to be for the good, but it could go pretty much in any direction. And because I've been sort of feeling forward into the timeline, and it all seems like it just seems like it's all wild cards, right? Coming forward in this immediate next period of time. And I asked my guides about it, and what they said was that, yeah, it's like we can't even tell you kind of what to expect, because it's all up in the air, a lot of it. And what they told me further was, really, it's a lot of it is up to you as a collective, but of course the collective is a compilation of all of us as individuals. Okay, and so they said it's really what you bring to it. Okay, so we have a lot of power to influence what happens in the world, even if it doesn't feel like it. We really do. And the more that you attune with your inner truth, you know, the more it's going to be facilitate moving into a little bit more positive kind of timeline. But we can all influence the collective timeline. We really can. And so there's a couple things that that I've been asked to bring forward about this. One is that your beliefs are so important. You know, if you choose to believe that things can work out really well, that there can be healing on the planet, that you know, political situations can change or work out in ways that are beneficial, you know, that economic situations can work out in ways that are better. If you choose to believe that a good outcome is possible, and really focus the intention, focus the prayers on a positive outcome, it does change. Because I think a lot of times there's a lot of talk about a potential recession coming up, and a lot of people are focusing on that. And okay, so here's what I'm feeling is that if you're really focused on fearing a recession, it's going to actually feed that energy, and it's going to feed, you know, hardship, right? But if you're focused on, okay, we can get through whatever comes forward, and it's going to be ultimately for the best good, and whatever happens, it's going to tend to help things to go smoothly. Now, we may be in for an economic reset, which again is change. Okay, so thinking of it as change, it, you know, can make a real big difference. And then the other thing is the emotions, because it's the emotions that fuel, you know, the change. And my guides are telling me that that becoming a master of your emotions is really important here, individually and collectively, right? Because when the emotions come forward in the animal, right, in the animal self, to get the animal to take action, right? So if an animal senses something, it'll have an emotion attached to that, and the emotion will actually drive the action. Okay, so when we are operating out of our instinctual self, those instincts are there to help us survive in the absence of higher reasoning, right? Um, and so they'll kick in automatically. Well, when the consciousness is like, they'll kick in automatically, but the thing is that if you are at the point where it's time to expand your consciousness, and we're in a situation now, humanity wise, right, where the consciousness has risen to the point where these things just, we have to transcend that instinctual self. Sometimes the instinctual self is still appropriate. Like if you've got a truck coming at you, your instincts are going to come in, you're going to jump out of the way. That's really good. Okay, and sometimes we have gut instincts about things, but it's also good to uh, feel into or be aware of when are these instincts just kind of taking us astray, when, or when do we need to actually use our reasoning to override that. Okay, so there are two techniques for controlling emotions. Okay, so first of all, if you're feeling caught up in an emotional loop, right? If you're feeling anxious, anxiety, and you find these behaviors like maybe compulsive eating or smoking or whatever it is that are or even rage or something that's hooked up in these loops. It could be a rage loop, it could be an anxiety loop or whatever. You will know, because those things are going to come up again and again. They're going to be patterns that are not serving you in your life, and you'll start to recognize those. Okay, so those are the kinds of emotions that we need to really be able to master, and to, in order to change into, reprogram ourselves into more positive patterns, right? So there's two ways. This is something my guides have been telling me lately. Two techniques for controlling emotions. One is to negate or diffuse your negative emotions, and that is things like if you notice the anxiety coming on, maybe breathing techniques or some things like that, to help to override those negative emotions and get us back into a more balanced state. Okay, so that's number one, is to negate or diffuse the negative. But then the other, and they're telling me this is really important, is to call in the positive ones, right? Because it's the positive ones, holding on those positive emotions and really focusing on them, that is going to help to manifest what we really want to come in. Okay, so you need both these techniques, but they're telling me if you've gotten to the point where you've gotten yourself grounded or whatever, then it's time to really start bringing in, well, at any time, bringing in the positive emotions, because the positive can actually displace the negative. And what they're showing me ultimately is that when you really start bringing in those positive emotions and then radiating them, that's the state where you're going to be, it will automatically actually negate or diffuse the negative, right? So this is really the more powerful, is actually working with those positive emotions. Okay, so that is kind of the update for today. And now let's get into the reading. I am going to be using, one more thing. I have this flower here, and going back to change. If you've been, if you're feeling like called, or if you're feeling like this awakening process happening, it can be, first of all, it can be kind of scary. It can be confusing. There can be a lot of things coming in for you that it's like, it can be pretty overwhelming, right? So again, it's change. And the human animal, any animal, we like things to be kind of constant. So whenever there's change, it is kind of can be kind of a little bit freaky, right? And there's also often this feeling like, oh, I got to move forward with this. I got to move forward with this sense of urgency. So another message from my guides is that there's a couple ways to look at that. I mean, you can do it being this moving forward. It's almost like a thoroughbred in the starting gate. One of the gates are going to open, or the gates are opening, and oh my God. But they're showing me maybe sometimes you're not a racehorse in the starting gate. Maybe there is no starting gate. Maybe you're not even a racehorse. Maybe you're a flower. Okay? Flower, and that's why I have the flower here, because a flower is the plants actually, spiritually in their own way, are far more advanced than the animals, including humans. Okay? So we have a lot to learn from plants. And to be a flower rather than a racehorse in the starting gate, you don't need to move forward, right? All you need to do is stay where you are, root down, reach up for the light, and then you naturally expand. You naturally unfold, you naturally open. Okay, so really the encouragement is there's a lot of change, a lot of flux happening, and to whatever that means. I mean, you might be called to travel, you might be called to do things, but to do so from a space of inner stillness, right? And when you breathe a little bit and move into that space of inner stillness, then you can be open to seeing, well, what's the next unfolding? What's the next step to unfolding? And it may be to move or to travel, right? I'm not saying like never go anywhere. It's just, it's the state of mind in which you do it. All right, so reading coming up for this full moon in Pisces. I'm going to pull between 1 and 3 cards from my own deck. This is the Spirit Animal Awareness deck. I'll kind of show you the cover there. And then I may follow up with a Michael card. See what's coming forward for this full moon. Okay, oops, first card is Snake. Again, change, resurrection, the snake's shedding its skin. And again, bringing in that light. I think this is just really reiterating what I just kind of reinforcing the message that I just relayed from the guides, is to soak in the light, right? Bringing in the positive emotions. And I'll read you what they, I did some channeled writing the other night, and it is, they're telling me to be a sun. They've been telling me this for quite a while. Okay, so again, talking about the bringing in the positive emotions, they're saying it's by far the more powerful, and that's what they mean when they tell me to become a sun, or tell you to become a sun. You have to learn to call in those positive emotions, the love, the joy, the bliss, into your field at will, and to radiate those positive emotions from your being. Okay, and they say that this is the most protective practice there is. And eventually, well, actually, I mean, once it's you get to a certain point, it will eliminate the need for constant shielding. I'm not saying not to shield, but I'm saying that with practice and with really bringing the positive emotions in and becoming, integrating those and then really radiating those out, eventually there's really no need to shield when you get to a certain point. I'm not saying that I've even necessarily gotten there myself, but that is really direct from the guides. What they're saying is like really focus on that radiating of love, radiating of joy, bringing it really into your heart, feeling in your heart. So one of the things that can be helpful is just breathing in. You can imagine whatever color, it might be a golden yellow, it might be a beautiful pink, breathing it in through all your pores of your body into your heart, and kind of contracting that beautiful energy into the heart as you breathe in, and then expanding as you breathe out and letting that radiate from all the pores in your body out. Okay, so the reason that's coming to mind with snake is that snake, especially this time of year, you're going to see snakes out on maybe the blacktop. They're sunning themselves. They try to find a warm rock and really soak in that light, and that allows them to, gives them the energy to move forward. But it's almost like they become this living, radiant heat because they're taking the sunlight, right? And also just the whole change thing with the skin shedding is there's a lot of potential for renewal right now, for resurrection. And if you're part of my soul tribe, you may have just come out of a very, very intense summer and spring and summer. And this is kind of just saying this is some of that intensity are, the challenge is going to start shedding off, and we're going to be able to start really stepping into that new. And again, with that flower analogy, thinking of oneself as a flower, when there's change, you can think of it as not as being uprooted, but as being repotted. And so there may be a time right now where we do need to rest, right? You'll see the snakes right now resting on the rock, soaking it in. So this might be a really, really good time to just be still, relax, and soak in the beauty, right? Maybe go out in nature, soak in the beauty. And, or just feel the support that is there for you. Feel the love that is all around us. We all have a direct connection with Source, and that love is always there. Okay, so I'm going to choose another card. This is Red Panda. Again, I'm getting, might be a really good time to just find, peacefulness, finding peace, finding quietude. Again, it could be going out in nature. But just finding that space, maybe the inner space within yourself, where you can just, kind of feel safe. Choose one more animal card here. And this is Dove. There's that peace again. Okay? So this is a really, really good time right now, this full moon, to call in peace. The portal is open for it. And whatever that means to you, whether that means staying in and having a bubble bath, whether that means, going and doing a vision quest in nature, it's whenever you maybe just staying in bed the whole weekend. I don't know. But it's what your heart calls to you that is associated with peace. So whatever action you take, make sure it's from, try and tune into that peace rather than acting from a state of anxiety. Find that state of peace, or at least as close as you can get first, and make sure that whatever action you're called to do is aligned with the state of peace, so that it brings you more into that state of being, expanding like a flower, unfolding like a flower, rather than trying to jump forward like a racehorse, okay? So we're really looking for that unfolding of the flower kind of energy, that kind of expansion and growth. There's times for jumping forward like a racehorse, but this feels like it's time to root, to invite in the light, and to allow oneself to unfold. Okay, and I'm going to choose one more card. This is from the Archangel Michael deck, which I've been using a lot lately. I've been drawing a card a day, and it's been really, really, it's really been a nice thing. Okay. You've created the situation. You have the power to change it. And this is really, again, saying that, we call in, and we've got more power. We are creators, right? It's just an affirmation of ourselves as creative beings, which goes back to what I was relaying at the beginning of this message is, we do have the power individually to change our own lives, collectively to change the world. Okay? And to maintain that positive focus as much as we can, to call in the positive energy as much as we can, the joy, the peace in particular I'm feeling. If nothing else this weekend, I want to just take some time and really meditate on peace and send out peace, especially to, to whoever needs it, right? Whether it's to neighbors, first of all to yourself, right? But once you attain that sense of peace, to just radiate it out, send it to our political leaders, even if you don't agree with who they are, what they're doing. Sending them peace, that can really actually help to change. These things do work. And again, it's your belief. If you don't believe that a leader can make actions that are positive, then they're probably not going to. But if you really believe that, yes, things can happen, even the so-and-so individual, even that individual, if you're in a position of leadership, you are at some level, attuned to the collective, just because there's so many of the collective focusing their attention on you, right? So if we can start to really radiate peace and send peace to those who in quote unquote positions of influence, right? It'll make a difference. All right. So I hope that you have a very beautiful and peaceful full moon. Thanks again for watching, and I will, put resource links below. Love you. Have a great time this weekend, and we'll catch you again soon.